Welcome to everyone who's able to join us right now to this Success versus Greatness live series, second edition. We're very glad to have you, and of course, our special guests. We want to extend a warm welcome to the Muines. How you guys doing today?
We're good.
Great.
We're all right.
Great.
I hope you can hear us properly.
Yes, the sound is good. So I'll just start by telling you a bit about the Engage, Inspire, Empower organization, which was started by my sister Patricia and a few other wonderful people, myself included. And it was put together with the sole purpose of helping immigrants, young immigrants, old immigrants, everyone to better transition to the American education system and workforce, right? Because we went through that and never really had, we had help, but we didn't have the right people or right people to talk to, right resources to like properly utilize, the opportunities around us. So my sister and I and a few other people figured we can start something and help people, get to where they want to go and just better acclimate to like the American system. So that's our whole thing. That's literally what we do. So we've been doing this Speaker Live series for a few months actually. I don't want to say the wrong number, but it's been a while. And the first edition went really well. We had three wonderful speakers who, we had great reviews about from the people who tuned in. And yeah, we're looking forward to the second edition. It can only go up from here. So me personally, like Muine is like a brother to me. I'm meeting Rachel for the first time, but we've, ever since we were kids, Muine, we knew Muine like a big brother. So it's really wonderful and an honor for me and my sister to interview you today. So you've made our day. Like I know it's morning here, but I remember the last time when I saw you at the airport, I was so, amazed because I hadn't seen you in a long time. But yeah, you really made my day that day. But anyway, let's start. We'll start with some introductions into like who you are. So you can take turns just introducing yourself briefly and we'll go from there.
All right. Thanks a lot, Francis. Please go first. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Francis and Patsy and the rest of the team for having us and for thinking about us. It's always daunting when somebody calls you to be a part of a discussion like this, because then that means that maybe you're doing something right or wrong that some other people can learn from. So it's pretty cool that we are here today. I'm called Rachael Mwine, wife to this gentleman here that you've known for most of your lives.
Your entire life.
Entire lives, like
Entirely.
from diapers. I'm talking about this. Wow.
Yeah. So we've been married 7 years. I am a communications consultant. At the moment, I have been in the media industry for over 10 years now. Studied mass communication at the university and started out in broadcast media with radio, and then transitioned to TV as a news anchor for about 7 years until I left in 2018. And when I left, I was a bit confused about what next for me. I knew that I still wanted to be in the media, but I wasn't too sure what exactly I wanted to be doing. There's been some clarity along the way, which hopefully I will share with you along the, as we go on with the program. And so now I'm currently just doing communications consulting and host a web series called Bump Love. We are a bunch of crazy moms who decided that this motherhood journey should not be walked alone. And so we get together every so often and talk about our struggles, we talk about our joys. We hear from experts, and the goal really is to encourage moms to let them know that they are not alone, but also to share ideas on how we can be better mothers and better parents. Yeah, that's it about me.
Wow. Wonderful resume. I love the last everything, but the last
Thank
part
you.
stuck with me. I think it's a great program they have,
Thank you.
right?
Thank you.
Would
Yeah.
definitely do some marketing for it for you.
Oh, thank you very much. That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
My name is Ben Muine. My wife, like married 7 years. We've got 2 boys. Jeremiah is 8. Maya is 5.5, or thereabouts. I do so many things that it's difficult to try and condense them into one. But the one that's been predominant my entire life is broadcasting. I've always been passionate about doing broadcasting, so I do radio and TV. I'm also supposed to be a preacher, so I do that on and off at the moment, though I know it's what I'm supposed to be doing with my life and anything else. And then put in a lot of other things, so entrepreneurship and business and event management and marketing consultancy and cars and a whole bunch of other things really. But that's pretty much what's happening with me. I've not been employed since I think when was last year. I was doing a TV station in Uganda called the TV, which closed operations in Uganda in 2019, about mid 2019. And so since then, I've just been doing many different things. Like my wife said, it's an absolute pleasure to be with you guys, and it's an honor that you thought about us to be a part of this discussion. And I think especially for me, it's really, really personal. And I know that there's a lot of people on the call who will maybe not be very familiar with our history, but oh, sorry, thought I'd lost you there. I go back a long way with the Muumba family, their family. I'm so proud of you guys. So I've known Patricia and Francis and the entire family for, I think it's been 20 years now.
Oh yeah, a lot more than 20, but let's go with 20.
More than both 20. Our ages. So
we were not born, and you knew the Muumba, so that's how many years.
Yeah, that absolutely spot on. We grew up together, and it's been amazing seeing the both of you turn into these amazing individuals. And forgiven if I keep getting personal when it comes to talking about you guys, because I know it's supposed to be a professional call and all of that.
Nah, keep it coming, keep it coming.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute delight. Like Francis said, I think I should just tell a quick story. So at the airport, I think I was going to Germany last year, and I'm at the airport and I see this head, and I'm like, this head looks so familiar. Now you must know that I hadn't seen Francis in so many years, and he's grown much bigger and taller. But I'm like, I know this head. And then I'm like, I know this nose. And so we're at the immigrations desk, and I couldn't help myself because I got so excited. So I actually shouted across the line. I think he was maybe about 4 lines away from me. Yeah. And I just shouted the question in the form of his name, Francis? Yeah. And so I think he turned around thinking, I'm arrested now. Yeah, we spent a few minutes together in the lounge at the airport. It was an absolute delight. And so yeah, that's sort of where us guys go back to, and it's an honor to be with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I will say personally, I think I cannot remember. First of all, for those who don't know, Ben Muine's family, they're all Bens, basically. So when you say Ben, you're going to get confused in their household because they're all Ben something, okay? So when people say like Ben, I'm like, which one? There's 5 others. Like, which one?
Yeah, and
Let's get clear about this.
Benon actually on the, I think Benon joined us.
Yeah, Benon's in here.
Benoit.
So I remember we had this thing where people would ask for Ben. Then you Patricia said you'd actually even our was Ben. So it was scary for the girls who called looking for any one of the bands. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I think a good place to start for me would be, one, how did you two meet? Two, how did you make these two huge personalities, but also careers and media personalities specifically? How did you make those two things come together so seamlessly? Because I know, Rachael Mwine is like adored in Uganda. She's like the little trophy that everyone watched at 9 o'clock every day on the news. And then Ben is the one who's at like every sporting event, every corporate event. Like he goes to practically everything and he's the host at everything. So how did you, one, when you met, like how did you meet? And two, how did you bring these two personalities together?
Wow, interesting question. We met at work. Interestingly, when I finished uni, I immediately got a job working as a news anchor at a radio station that eventually shut down its news department. And so I was out of work for about 6 months, and then I went looking for work at RFM that is based at Watoto Church in Kampala. And that's where Ben was. He was station manager there at the time. But I was focused on work. So first year was, the first year was, I want to get my foot in there, do a good job, and I guess see where that leads me. So I started out at Power FM shortly after that, and that's where Ben and I met. We started a friendship, and can I say the rest is history?
Yeah, we can go with that.
Yeah.
Ben, we know, Ben, we know you.
Right? Yeah, you can say the rest is history. Yeah, so we worked together and we were friends, and then blossomed into something else actually after I left Power, sometime I think in 2011, going into 2012. But I also think because of the nature of what we do and the fact that we're in the same industry and all of that, we sort of spoke a lot of similar things, and we had a lot of things that we had in common that sort of made it easy for me to understand the fact that my wife is going to come home at 11 p.m. Every night and not throw a tantrum. And so I think in a way it makes it easy, and also probably explains what you see, for example, in Hollywood. I mean, I know they've got serious issues with how long their marriages last, but you can understand why, there's a lot of actors marrying each other, because sort of in the same space, you understand each other and what you do. It's easy to sort of work around your lives in a way that is symmetrical for both of you. So yeah.
Yeah, and maybe just to add on also, because we were in the same industry, he had been in the industry much longer than I had. And so I looked up to him for a lot of advice. Even where it wasn't solicited, Ben always saw where I had potential. For example, something I didn't mention when I was introducing myself, I do voiceovers for different projects. So whether it's a documentary or a feature story or things along, or an advert. And Ben is actually the one who sort of prompted me to do that with my voice. I had no idea that was something that you could do and make a living out of. But I remember one time at RFM, we were hosting Emmanuel Jal for an annual concert that RFM ran. And he told me he wanted me to be the voice of the promo. And I said, "Are you mad? I've never done anything like this. Why would anyone want to hear my voice in this? I don't sound excited. That's not how I talk. That's not me." With voicing, you have to, for certain voices, you have to be animated, almost sound unnatural, and yet people can still get it. And so we stayed in the studio for what, maybe an hour and a half, trying to get the right tone and the right animation and the right oomph. And it was mind-blowing. I thought, this man is insane. Why would he think that this would be something that I can do? But let's just say I have never looked back, and I make money off of my voice.
A lot of money.
So yeah, I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
No, actually, she's being very modest because at the moment, especially for that particular aspect, if you call any customer care line in Uganda at the moment for any of the big telcos or the banks or whatever, about 40 to 50% of the voices that you'll hear for any of those companies will be her voice. So that's how much of a big deal it has become.
Rachel, making that money.
I think you made the right call, because voiceovers is a big thing. Even now on social media, there's a lot of influencers who do that and make tons of money just literally doing voiceovers of even little silly videos. So I think that was a great choice for your career, for sure.
I mean,
So
for me, the thing that I'm really interested in, and I know you just talked about it a little bit, and people often don't want to talk about this part, but I know both of you have done this really well. How have you kept comfortable with reinventing yourselves? Because I feel like you do it so often and so well. And of course, it has to have some parts where it sucks completely. But how have you gotten comfortable with that? Where it's like, you know what? I can't be in a box every single time. There's areas where I'm going to have to reach out. There's areas where I'm going to have to grow. Some areas where I'm going to pull back and reflect. So how have you gotten comfortable with that process?
I think that's a very good question, Patricia. You know, people, one of the things I've been sort of preaching in the last year or two and making a lot of noise about, especially with young people that I interact with in Uganda, is I have a question that I usually ask. Just my brother who's on the call, just any of my brothers. It's a question that I ask them literally every 6-7 months. And the question is, what's your plan? Because I think a lot of people, especially here, a lot of young people think that I'm going to go to the university, I'm going to get a job, and that's my plan. And I keep thinking that's not a plan. There's about 20, 30 times more people getting degrees than there are jobs available. So if your plan is to finish school and get a job, you're screwed. I mean, you're done. You're going to go and dig or sell airtime on the street, which maybe would be way below what your potential is. And what I keep telling them is that I think you've got to have a decent idea from as early age as possible of the things that you want to do, the things that you're passionate about, the things that you enjoy doing, and find a way of pursuing those things. And if you do some boring 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job at some point, but you make sure you make time for your passion and what you're really interested in doing, because eventually that will become your livelihood. It's what will make it special for you. I studied computer science at the university. The only thing I use a computer for is to send emails. They asked me to write a single code of a line of code. I don't think I can do that now, because I did computer science when we were still coding in BASIC and C, stuff that no one would understand now anymore. But I always wanted to be in broadcasting. It's something that I enjoyed, something that I was passionate about from a very early age. And I made sure I stayed in an environment that enabled me to try and pursue that in a way. Thankfully for me, things worked out and I got openings and opportunities. And even when I did those, I understood that I had to try and find a way of growing. Right? So for example, my career in broadcasting starts in 1999. I worked as a continuity presenter at a TV then called Channel TV. It wasn't on air for too long, but it's where I started. And I was like, I love it. I want to do this. But I also knew that I needed to be able to expand and grow from there and do other things. You've got people who, and no offense to me in any way, but I find it difficult that you can be, let me pick a simple example. You can be a driver, driving for the same company at the same level for 24 years. I don't know. I don't want to be offensive to anybody who's done that, but I think that becomes a very difficult life to live. Like, what is it that is, taking to the next level? So if you're working as a checkout clerk at one of the, at a Walmart or Best Buy or something, and that's what you do for 25, 30 years. I don't know if you're going to be able to say that, you know what, I have grown, right? At bare minimum, you want to be able to put yourself in a position where you're thinking, I want to have a bit more ambition. Right? I want to go for something a little
Exactly.
bigger. I want to test something
Yeah.
else. I want to go. And if you're not thinking about that and having that plan, I think it makes it difficult for you. And so for me, that was always the plan. How can I be better? If I'm a radio presenter, how can I add the role of being a producer to being a presenter? And because of being able to do that, then people realize that, oh, this guy is able to think a bit more than just being on radio. Because of that, you end up getting an opportunity to run the programming department. And then from there, you start thinking, right, why am I just running programming? Why can't I run an entire radio station? And so you position yourself that way. And I guess, I think for me, it would be a lie to say that it was me. I know it was God opening doors for what He wanted me to do.
Oh,
But I think
100%.
you've got to still position yourself in a way that you've left room for growth and have a growth plan and have an ambition of where you want to be, and start thinking about how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
So, go.
No, go ahead.
Rachel, go. No, I was gonna say, I feel like, or rather a question, I feel like we need to change, us as the youth, both here and in Uganda, we need to change the mentality towards,
Absolutely.
making a plan and knowing that it's not always good to be comfortable in one job. Like you said, for like 20 plus years, you need to have something that gives you growth or that motivates you to come to the job every day and know that, okay, I need to work to get to this. Like you have to have a goal to
Yeah.
aim at. But yeah, that's what I wanted to add in there. But I feel like it's a whole mentality piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rachel, you could go on.
So my experience has actually been slightly different. I feel like I have, so partly my personality is that I want to be in a place, see what's there, and then I sort of get bored really quickly. I will push it on for a while, and then that boredom or that desire for something different is what will force me to think, okay, what else is happening? What can I do? What else can I do with myself? I don't know if I would call that ambition, but for me, I feel like I have been surrounded by people who have pushed me to do and be better. So I was a news anchor and I did that for 7 years. And by the 7th year, I was just done because I've done this. I feel like I've contributed as much as I can. I tried out a couple of other aspects in the newsroom that didn't really sit well with me. And I thought, I think it's time for me to walk away. I go mostly with, what do I want? What does my heart want? I feel like I'm in a place where I ask myself that question a lot. What do I want to do? What's aligned with my purpose? What's aligned with what I enjoy doing? And start to look for things that sort of align with that. And so that's partly also how Bump Love was created. I asked myself that question shortly before I left NTV, and motherhood is something that I absolutely enjoy. I love being a homemaker. I love being a wife. And so I thought to myself, what thing can I create, or what thing can I do that creates impact but also leave me fulfilled? And what platforms do I have to use? And so I reached out to Manuela, who actually already had a community of moms, and said, what can we do with these moms? Why don't we start a YouTube series? We started that low until, Ben and Manuela's husband said, no, we have to do something bigger. Let's do a TV show. And so that is how Bump Love was created. So I feel that even with ambition and having a plan, sometimes it's best to do a lot of introspection. What do you want to do? What makes you happy? What is your purpose? Those are very key questions to ask yourself. They can be daunting because purpose seems to be out there. Even now, if you ask me, sometimes I'm a bit confused. Maybe I want this, maybe I don't want it. And so I think it's important, one, to surround yourself with people who maybe are more ambitious than you are and have a better head on their shoulders, and that can advise and sort of thrust you in the right environment. So mine has been slightly different. I don't think that I am ambitious. I was ambitious enough to have a plan. And there's something that Francis said as to how this organization started. Having mentors and people that hold your hand and say, is the way walking it. That is something that I missed out on because one, I grew up in a very safe bubble environment, and I just thought life is great, everyone is good, people are going to be nice to you, you will get a job. I mean, like Ben was saying, and then you become an adult and realize no, it doesn't work like that.
It's a lie.
Yeah, it's a big lie. You get into
Adulting is a
world.
trap. A trap.
Yeah, it's a trap. You get into the corporate world. Yes, you're making 800,000 shillings a month. And what? Buying handbags and you finished, and then what? So you want more and you keep wanting more. So this whole talk about positioning yourself, I didn't know that stuff while I was at Power or while I was at NTV. I just knew I have a job, let me do it and walk away. And so I guess my word to people who are watching would be, even as you are in that organization, and I feel like organizations are starting to be more proactive about how their employees can grow. If you're in an organization that doesn't allow for that, take on the responsibility yourself. Go to your line manager and say, I know I'm doing this. Is there anywhere else I can plug? The last organization I worked for, Andela, which is a tech firm, very big on growth and learning employees. So the entire department that was dedicated to learning, are you growing? Conversations between you and your manager, what else can you do? How else can you plug in so that you make yourself valuable, basically? Those are things I learned after I turned 30, you know, and it's not fair. I feel like olds should know that you don't have to just have a job and make money at the end of the month. You can be so much more. So yeah.
I totally agree that, you know, and I figured that out, you know, at this age, that there's things that you learn now that you wish you had, like, let's say 5 years ago, and you keep saying to yourself, wow, I would have been 10 steps ahead if I knew that. And I feel like it's up to the people who are in these positions that, you know, kids want to get to really hold these kids' hands, because our generation is not going to like have that mentality to come and like ask someone, how do I better myself? I know people are going to like disagree, but I feel like we like finished things. I've interviewed there, like fast things, right? So people are not willing to put in the work and really, you know, trust the process if you know, or whatever it is. So I believe that we need to, you know, massively change our ways, our mentality, our, you know, scrap the system and come up with something else, you know, because there's things that we've, you know, me and Patricia have gone through here that we wish was in Uganda, was embedded into our, you know, education system. Like the kids growing up, they should have these discussions with them so that by the time they get up here, they know, because all the kids at uni should know that you're going to graduate, but there's not enough jobs for all of us. So you have to have a backup plan even before you get there, right? But
I mean, I will say the whole conversation, like, it's so close to home for me. It's unbelievable. I will say, so the whole idea of success versus greatness was because this year, actually the last 2 years, I have gone through what I would call learning the difference between what you get out of learning and why you learn. And it's, most people are like, what are you talking about? But I had this realization at the end of my undergraduate going into my master's degree that you only go to school to get a skill set. What you go there for is just for the skills. If you think you're going for become a lawyer and then that's what you're going to be as a person, you are lying to yourself. You have the skill set of a lawyer, but being a lawyer does not define you. That took me 4 years of school to be like, oh, so this is the password. Like, this is what I was supposed to be knowing. And so for those who don't know, I'm an Ivy League educated architect. I love design inside out. I could design my whole life if I could. That said, I have always been a person who, I'm very passionate about it, like transferring knowledge that I have to other people. I love doing that. So I went for my master's degree in education. People almost died when they heard that I was going to graduate school to become a teacher. They're like, you were joking. But in my mind, and this is what I challenge a lot of people that are my friends that see me every day. I say, guess what? I'm 25. I only work 8 to 3. I do not work weekends. I make enough to live off by myself. On top of that, I have no problem waking up in the morning to go to work because I love what I do every single day. On top of that, I have weekends and evenings to do success versus greatness, which is my purpose, which I believe is my way of giving back to the world using the talents that God gave me. I tell every single young person that I meet, if you don't ground yourself in some sort of purpose, you are wasting your time on planet Earth.
Yep.
And once, a few years from now, when you think you're having a midlife crisis, it will be life reminding you that guess what? You wasted the first 30 years of your life. You need to use your time now. Like, do something. So, you know, when we're talking about reinventing ourselves and finding different boxes, right? Like, so I still meet people who are like, why did you go to architecture school for 5 years? The skill sets I learned as an architect make me that much better an educator. I do educate design. I love it every single day. That said, I can't fit in an architecture. I can't say I'm an architect and just say that's it with me. Or I can't just say I'm a teacher and that's it with me. No, I'm just Patricia, an amazing person at design, amazing person at educating. But at the end of it all, if I can change somebody's life by giving them the resources that were given to me, for me, that's it. That's all I can ask for. You know, and Francis was just saying, there are things that we went through here that I wish so many kids in Uganda could just have the privilege to get. I mean, both Francis and I were mentored by an amazing, I'll have an interview with her and you'll get to meet her, the most amazing mentor anyone could get. I met this woman 2 months into living in the US. She was like the first person I really like grew a bond with and literally is like my second mom right now. And I remember leaving high school and she asked me the most important question. And today I'm like, why did she ask me that? But she was like, do you want to go to one of the best schools in this country and be the most amazing person? Or do you just want to go to a mediocre school? Make the decision right now so we can start making a plan to where you want to go. And for the longest time, I was like, let's just get into a school as long as I get an education. And she really woke me up and said, if you want to be the best, you need to get the best education and to be around the best people. And as Rachel said, if you surround yourself with people that are ambitious and successful, you can't help but grow. Because guess what? You're not going to be the last person in the line when everyone is sprinting towards the finish line. Like, you need to be, you know, going. So when I think of reinvention, I almost feel like we should just do a master class on reinvention because we need to be comfortable with it. We need to accept that that's what life is dealing us. I mean, this minute right now, there might be somebody making the next technology that's going to change our lives. And now we're going to be something totally different, right? So it hits close to home, and it's such a huge reflection point for me is in just like where I thought I was going to be at 25 is not where I am, but I am much happier. I feel more successful. I think I'm on a path to maybe making some impact in a few people's lives, and I'm okay with that. You know, I'm content with that. But you know, on this topic, I would dare to ask, and you tell me, where do you see the media industry going? But if you could start by reflecting from where it started to where it is now and where you see it going in Uganda specifically.
Oh, that's very interesting. Of course, as you know, I mean, the media industry has changed completely. The definition of media has changed. What we're doing now is media. 5 years ago, this didn't exist. This didn't happen. You didn't have an option of doing a Facebook Live. You didn't have an option of having a YouTube channel. Something you didn't know. Some of the most popular people in Uganda right now are not on mainstream TV. They are on YouTube. And I think the biggest export we have as a country right now is Anne Kansime. If she walks into any airport anywhere in Africa, she'll be instantly recognized. She's, you know, so that everyone will know right there, right now. I think we've gone from a place where traditional media is still very, very big. In Uganda, it's become a lot more fragmented than it was back in the day. I remember when Radio Sanja in '93 and Capital at the time, a guy who was on radio, you might not have seen his face, but you knew, and they were larger than life personalities. The time when we had Alex at the time, and DJ Berry, and Elvis, who is still doing radio now. Now, all of a sudden, you've got all these small people who have Instagram. I've refused to be on Instagram because I think I'm just too old for that now. So Mrs. Muine does that on our behalf. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, no, I'm not going to.
I love Instagram.
Like, I'm not going to do that.
She's
But
so
you
good
see,
at Instagram, I promise.
Oh,
I watch her videos all the time.
Know. I only see what she posts on Instagram that goes to her Facebook. It's just about me. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna cut my cloth and choose my battles. But yeah, but you can see how big Instagram is. And like you said, but chances are somebody's gonna come up with something new that's going to completely change the way we see all of this stuff. So yes, there's been a total evolution of media the way it has been. I think in terms of going forward and where we see it heading, there's going to have to be a way for, especially if I use the Ugandan perspective, for our people in the media here, and I don't even think we can call them practitioners anymore. It's really content developers, because right now media is all about content. And the people who are developing content to begin to understand that they are playing to a global audience and not just a Ugandan audience, and to understand everything that you do is not just being done for the Ugandan audience, it's going to be for a global audience. So gone are the days when all of your media is going to be about the news and what happened in Uganda and there being tear gas in Kambocha or whatever. It might look like a big deal to you, but to the person sitting in Boston, they're thinking, yeah, so what, right? And I think people are going to have to start thinking about doing things that lead to discussions and debates that affect people's lives across the world, and just about anywhere. And that's why, for me, I love the concept of bump love, right? Because there's going to be a mom in every country on this world. If I'm a mom and I'm sitting in Iceland, or if I'm a mom and I'm sitting in Tokyo, if I'm a mom sitting in Canada, if I'm a mom and I'm sitting somewhere in Seattle, you know, or someplace in the US or wherever, or the UK, I'm interested in knowing what are the experience of moms in the rest of the world, right? So when I see these 5 women in here about the experiences of moms, there are things that I relate with. There are things that make me go, really? That you do that? And what that does is it facilitates a conversation and a bond and a connection between people that will never get to know each other, never meet each other, but across the world, yet still feel like they are really connected. And I think that media is going to have to go in that direction. And it's the same thing. I know, you know, how passionate, you know, Francis and I are about football. Daddy, of course, who supports the wrong team, but that's okay. For a lot of people, yeah. For most people, they say, Liverpool. I know he's been vindicated, but for us to be able to have a discussion, there's a TV show that I really love. It's called Fans On, for the Premier League. And you have a fan in Jakarta, Indonesia, and another in Kampala, another in Mexico, and they're all talking about as if, you know, this is their life, right? These are guys who don't know each other, will never see each other, and yet, and I think that's where media is going to have to go, and I think we need to prepare for that and embrace ourselves to the fact that this whole globalization thing is actually real happening, and it's about positioning yourself to be able to, you know, make the most of it.
Yeah. So no, I'm not great at forecasting. I think Mr. Muine, he has done a good job at that. I think this is what I wanted to comment on, and it's something I'm actually thinking about for myself, is the whole idea of content creation, not just for traditional media, but even for individuals. One of the things that we talked about on a show that actually hasn't aired on Bump Love is the fact that people who are famous, not because they star in some TV series or that they read the news somewhere, because they are big on Instagram or because they share their lives on Instagram. So a day in the life of Ben Muine, or, you know, my skincare routine for the morning, or my skincare routine for the evening. that sort of content is what I guess people are looking for, because we know Hollywood, they are lying to us, the man is flying, but he's moving. So we see that sort of content, and I think people are longing for this person that I see on Instagram. You know, they have so many followers. Do they eat food like me? Take the loo, you know, and that's the sort of content that people are sharing on social media nowadays. And people are hungry for that stuff. Like, oh, I see this person, they are normal. They go to the mall, they go to their own kitchen, they can make their own food. And I follow a lot of vloggers. The Kenyans are much farther than the Ugandan social media content creators. But I feel like even the Ugandan content creators are starting to get the hang of it and, you know, start to create content that Ugandans would actually appreciate. Yeah.
I mean, I will say, content creation is such a powerful tool. So I just, and this is going to connect to Bump Love really well, because, and that's a story to think about, but it just made me make the whole thing come full circle. So Chrissy Teigen, who most people know is the wife to John Legend, just shared a very vulnerable part of her life that, you know, I don't think I've ever seen anyone share what she shared. So a few weeks ago, she lost their unborn son, and she shared the pictures of what you go through when you lose a child. And of course, there are people who are going to be like, how dare she, and all of that. But there are so many moms who had the moment of like, finally, someone can talk about the realness of life. Like, there are, like, I mean, Michelle Obama talked about, who knew Michelle Obama had lost children before she had Sasha and Malia? No one. And then she shares it, and everyone's like, we're normal. Like, this happens, and it happens more than, like, it's almost like finally it grounded people in realness for a second. But as you talk about content creation, it's taking us from the era where we looked at people from afar, right? The era of Paris Hilton and the era of Kim Kardashian before she became a like a YouTube person, right? The era of, I'm trying to think of like people who were so influential. I mean, Beyonce, before she went into the whole Instagram thing, it was like from afar. And now with like Kylie and Chrissy, and they're really bringing in like, you know, I wake up in the morning and I don't look pretty every day. But guess what? If my kids are rolling down on the ground and throwing a tantrum, that is my normal day, and that's what it is. And you know, whenever I watch Bump Love, and I want Rachel to talk a little bit about how, you know, how it's been going, why she chose who she chose. But my mom and I have watched one episode that we try to watch them together, because it's very hard to get me and my mom in the same room these days. But we watched the episode where you talked about rainbow babies, and people don't really know what rainbow babies are. So for those who don't know, rainbow babies are if you carry a child full term but lose them at birth. So that's what a rainbow baby is. And that episode like was such a mother-daughter moment for us. Like we were just like, because my mom was like, okay, I'm done having kids, but like, you might want to have kids. Like, we need to know about these things. And we talked about it. We're like, what would happen? Like, what would you do? But at the same time, it was such a full circle moment, because some people don't have their moms there with them when such things happen, or never have the chance to have those conversations with their moms, you know, before they become even mothers. So that episode for me was, it changed almost. I mean, our relationship with me and my mom grows every single day, but it changed. Something clicked for her, you know, and like she shared with me things I never knew, right? I just like how, you know, what she went through to have me and Francis, and she talks about this now more openly than before. We're like, you know, in Africa, no one wants to talk about it. They're like, well, you guys are here, that's what matters. But like, she really was honest and was like, guess what? It was not a joke. It was not easy. It was a struggle. It was a journey. God had so much to do with it. You know, she always says, the prayers I prayed for you, all of you will never know. Like, I really manifested for you guys to be here. And so I just, that episode changed me so much. And I want, Rachel, if you could just walk me through, you know, you've told me how the whole idea came to be, but like, how did you go into the process of it, making it a reality? How do you choose the topics? How do you see the impact of this show in Uganda, around the world?
So I actually get a bit teary thinking about Bump Love because, like you said, and like Mom said, motherhood is a very lonely journey. You have a child, and people expect that, yeah, you have a child now, so woman up. You have responsibilities, and I guess the rest of your life has not stopped. So you have children to look after, you have a home to look after. A lot of moms are into business, a lot of moms are working, so you're juggling so many balls, and no one expects that you're going to sit somewhere and cry because, oh, life is so difficult, poor me. No, poor you. You have children, so woman up, take care of on that motherhood comes with no manual. So there's that as well. You're figuring it out as you go along. When your baby is born, and you're telling you, okay, so this is how you breastfeed. I thought breastfeeding come naturally, but I struggled. And again, like Mom said, those are not things that people talk about openly. And so we thought together with Manuela, we need a platform where we can talk about this stuff, let ourselves cry a little. I mean, like that episode of moms who carry babies and then lose them, or moms who miscarry. Those are real struggles that people go through, but they are not wearing it on their forehead. They are crying silent somewhere, but no one is talking about this stuff. And so what we wanted to do was to normalize this conversation. Motherhood is tough, but it's also really great. There's some awesome moments. There are things that our kids do that make us well with pride, but there are also some real deep struggles. Things like postpartum depression. We realize that, for moms, we talk about moms who lose their kids or who kill their own babies. And this is a conversation I was having recently. And we judge those moms very harshly. Other women are looking for children. You're throwing your child in the, in the pit latrine. We thought about it because the rest of us who are seemingly well-to-do get overwhelmed to the point of depression, and yet we have support around us. We have a support system. How much more this woman who has no income, probably has not eaten in the last 3 days, was probably raped to get pregnant, and is dealing with all that stuff. And then there's a baby who is crying. She has no money. She doesn't know what to do with their child. I mean, we're not condoning her throwing the child, but I can see how it can happen. So motherhood it's a roller coaster. There's so many facets to it. There's so much that goes into the mom. And then on top of that, we judge ourselves harshly because you want to be the best mom. You want to raise a good kid. You want to raise a child who will be responsible, in public and to the rest of the nation. And the saying that when a child is misbehaving, the mother is the one who's probably blamed, like bad child, or your
I need
child
a Bump Love episode on that, please.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
Good idea. So I think in terms of how we come up with it's one of my own experiences, because part of the segment is we talk about our own experiences. People want to be able to relate. So when I say I'm struggling with teaching Micah good grooming, another mom would be like, oh my gosh, I feel that, I hear that. Tell me what you're doing. We sort of share ideas. So it's really about what stuff are we going through, because very high chances are 30,000 other moms are going through a similar experience. And we see that sort of engagement. We see that sort of engagement on our platform. When we put out an episode on all manner of things, dating your kids or talking to your children, delayed milestones, there's so much to talk about when it comes to motherhood. And so mom saying, I'm the same way, or my child is going through the same thing, or I hear what Pumla is saying, or I hear what Rachel is saying, or I hear what Angie is saying, because it's happening to me as well. And just knowing that there are other moms who are going through the same thing brings you comfort, even though you haven't figured it out. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, we can stay the whole day talking about Bump Love.
I know. So for everyone who doesn't know what Bump Love is, go on, you can go on Instagram, but usually YouTube is the best place to go. Bump Love, UG, you will find it. I promise, it's so worth watching. And also you will laugh. You will laugh a good bit. I promise. It's a lot of laughter. There is tears. Please take your box of Kleenex with you. Don't forget. But it's honestly, I can look back to the year that you left TV Rachel, people did a farewell party for you. Did you know?
Yes, they did. Where? At TV.
At TV they did, but on social media, they made a farewell party
Yeah, yes.
for Rachael
Oh my
Mwine
God.
leaving TV.
It's overwhelming in a good way, though.
I mean, and this is a question I would have. How does it feel to have been, I mean, you were 9 o'clock news. I'm just saying. You were what everyone expected to see and hear at 9 o'clock every day on Ugandan television. How does it feel? How did it feel to be in that position? Is there some pressure that came with it? Did it almost become like its own box that you couldn't break out of? And how did you have the courage to walk away?
So yes, there's pressure that comes with it. I had this conversation with a couple of people a few days ago, and I was saying that when I got into TV, nothing prepared me for the reports. So I think at the time, social media was becoming the thing where people not just meet people that they have known a long time, but are able to voice their opinions about stuff that they see on TV. So the good, the bad, the ugly.
And the very ugly.
And the very ugly, yes. So I hadn't developed a thick skin per se, because like I said, I grew up in a very safe environment. Everybody is nice. People are going to be nice to you if you're nice to them. And oh boy, was I wrong? People had comments about all manner of things, your hair to the clothes you're wearing, to the way you pronounce a word, to the way you're looking, to your bra, and oh my goodness, those things got to me and they got to my heart until I started to put structures in place to make sure that I don't pay too much attention to social media or to what people say, because these are people who don't know me. I'm simply doing a job. And so that sort of pressure where you cannot make everybody happy. Some people will like you, others will not. And to know that that is okay. And then of course, the glam that comes with TV, you know, people think you live a certain lifestyle, which is not necessarily true. I was as regular as a bank teller. Was you were seeing me every day. And so it was a job. It was a job that people had the chance to watch me doing. And after a while, I think, like I mentioned, I wanted more. I wanted more than just sitting at a desk and reading the news. I was grateful to God for the platform that He gave me, the following on social media. And I think the question that I asked myself, something that made it easy for me to leave, is what can I do with the platform that brings me fulfillment, but that also allows me to speak into the lives of the people that are following me, because I'm doing the news. And so walking away from me was not difficult. I will not lie. I think one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, do you miss TV? I honestly don't. And I never flinch with my response. I don't miss it. I'm grateful for the platform it gave me and for the doors that it opened for me. And so what scares me now is, what do I do with the platform? That for me is the bigger question. What do I do with the platform that TV gave me? Because if I let it go to waste, that would be a shame. That would be such a shame. Yeah.
That's true. And I end up, usually platforms are opportunities, and when they come to you, it's very hard to know what to do with opportunities. And you know, it doesn't knock twice. We know that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So I'll go to Ben for a little bit. So I will say, reinvention is you. When I tell people that Ben can survive with $1, Ben, I would trust you with $1. You'd come back with $1 million.
I have survived with $1.
I really would trust you with little money, and I know you would bring back my investment. That's what I trust about you. But so you're pretty active on social media. I wait for your Facebook post. That is me. It's usually comedy or something, your opinion, or your love or dislike of Liverpool. One of these days, you better bet with Rachel bet, so you can wear a dress and we can do one of those. One of these days.
No. Liverpool loses quite a bit, so I wouldn't take that chance.
But here, so you have one of those media platforms where you love to share your opinions, and And you're not apologetic about it, which I love. You're really honest about it, and you would love to share the reality of it. You know, if there's a lot of traffic, you'll be like, "Yo, why am I backed up? I need to be home. Like, what is going on in Uganda?" So you really shared an inside, view of that. But I want to talk about the people, as Rachel just said, the people that think because they're behind a computer, they can share whatever they want and they can share their opinions. And they think they know you more than the people that live, in your household. How have you dealt with that? How have you transformed that energy that sent your way? I'm just interested to know,
Yeah. I mean, look, I think one of the things that I learned is that while you'll have a lot of people following you, while you'll have people who look up to you or think you're a big deal and all of that, you're just a regular guy. At the end of the day, you're just a regular guy, and what makes you famous is people being able to relate with you, people being able to identify with you. And I think for me, whatever little public following I have comes as a result of me being real and honest about my life and the things that I see, and being able to share my opinions based on how I see the world. And I find that one of the biggest gifts maybe that I have and the talent I have is being able to see the funny side of almost every situation, right? So I'll see a guy driving on the street and there's something that will cross my mind that is just hilarious. And what I'll do is quickly capture that and share that. And normally it will be a guy and another guy who sees that and thinks, oh, that's actually me, that's funny. I'll give you a very good example of this week. All of what's been happening in Uganda with the presidential nominations and all of that. And so one of our candidates this week ended up in a position where they didn't have their shoes on, and so they were walking around in socks. And the first thing that came to my mind was, I still have at least 2 pairs of socks in my drawer which have holes in them, which I still wear. Now, please note, for context, you've got to understand this, right? We're in Dubai for New Year's this year, and my wife bought me, how many? 2 packs of socks, right? And there's that's about 12 pairs of socks. So I've got 12 pairs of brand new socks that I have never put on, okay? And yet I have a pair of socks that have holes in them that I'm still wearing. And I'm thinking, is that witchcraft? Like, what? I see Daddy laughing. I know that
Rachel,
he's been through this as well. I mean, any guy.
The struggle. Rachel, you have a long journey. A journey. Hey.
And so being able to share something like that, you can be sure that there's maybe 75-80% of men who are identifying with you. And like you said about, what's been happening with Jada Pinkett and John Legend's wife and Will Smith and all of that. Yeah. People being able to understand that, hey, yeah, you're right, come to think about it. And so for me, the biggest thing is being able to ask questions that everyone is thinking, but no one ever sort of voices out. And in the process, you usually find that people build a connection with you, but yet at the same time, you've got lots and lots of people who just comment without even thinking about it. And that brings me to the other aspect in terms of how you deal with it. People will always say whatever comes to their mind and judge you, even if they have absolutely no idea what's going on with you. And I learned that as long as the people that are close to me understand me and know who I am, it doesn't matter what happens or what anybody thinks. It doesn't affect me, and I'm not going to let it bother me. I was talking to a friend of mine this week who has a seemingly lowly job. She's a beautiful girl, a seemingly lowly job, but she's very ambitious and entrepreneurial, and she's managed to do things for herself and make some decent money. So you've got someone with a very low-paying job, but who is living a decent life, is able to buy nice shoes and a nice bag and has a car that seems way beyond her salary, right? But it turns out that this girl managed to become entrepreneurial and get a business going for herself and do some real estate and stuff like this. And so every time anybody sees her driving this nice car, the first thing they say, sometimes in her hearing, is she must have a dude. This money is
Oh, don't
coming from a
worry.
dude.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
her struggle. Oh, I know her struggle. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I know, right?
Women
I
don't buy
think
themselves cars. They don't.
I know. I'm like, it's ridiculous. And it's not only a stereotype, but I think it's also because of the culture and all of that. But the point is that people will say all sorts of nasty stuff without even thinking about it. And it bothered her quite a bit. And I told her, you know, people are always going to say that stuff. The most important thing is that, and oh, by the way, the thing is, the moment they say this, so they're going to post on Facebook and say, you're horrible, I don't like your hair. And then they're going to go on with that. They even said that. And you're going to spend 2-3 weeks mulling over this and stressing over it, being anxious over something someone said that they don't even remember to say. And so I choose to focus on the things that I think are important. And as long as my conscience is clean, I'm in a happy place, the rest of you can go hang. And I think being able to carry that attitude helps a lot. And I'm not saying it in an arrogant way. I see celebrities that fight with people on Facebook. I see people that get into nasty petty fights and name calling. Even CEOs. I see Elon Musk fighting with teenagers on Twitter, and I'm like, why? It's not worth it. You're not at the same level. There's nobody trying to get into that. So for me, the way to deal with it, I realize, is focus on what it is that you want to do, live your life, share your life in the aspects that you think other people will be interesting, and then just live it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because, you know, with content creation, you know, I think, Rachel, you see it on YouTube. I think the nastiest people live in the comment section of the YouTube. Like
Yes,
if you
they
go
do.
and like, I swear, if you go and like watch any video and just go to the comments, only negativity. There might be one or two positive comments, you know, like saying thank you for the content, but the power that social media gives people, it's crazy. You know, of course, some people, they use it for good, you know, like Rachel and Muine, you guys, you use it for good. Although Muine, sometimes you post some things that, like, you know, they hit home hard for me, but you know, it's part of the game. But you know, other people just use it for, you know, to put other people down or to like just kill people's self-esteem and confidence and whatever. But you know, it comes down to those, like, we have, let's say parents, they have to talk to their kids and be like, okay, there's this thing called social media. You might post a picture, you know, but not everyone is going to like feel good about it, right? Like you might be standing like me, I'm in my regular shirt, and then someone will say, that guy has a belly, like a, you know, full belly or whatever, you know, and something that you wouldn't normally like look at with yourself, you know, in the mirror or think about, you know. So people just go on social media because, you know, they can go on there, make a profile, not put a picture, and just say whatever they want, you know, and you can't do nothing about it. So like you said, it's really, really childish that you have a celebrity like Elon Musk, like,
I think,
you know.
and Francis, I just remembered something that I think has brought home the reality of the nastiness of people on social media and why it's got to be tempered. I mean, everywhere we go, we all have experiences that are usually bad or people that rub us the wrong way, and I think that's that you should just let go and not get involved in because they're not going to do anybody any good. Over the last year, I'll never forget, and I actually went and found this post after this happened. One of the tabloids in the US, I think it was the New Yorker, or one of those cheesy, sleazy, you know, tabloids, posted a picture of this guy coming out of a restaurant. You know, the paparazzi and how they follow celebrities around.
Yeah.
And the whole of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram was awash with people abusing this guy and saying, "Oh, what shame! What you know, all of this stuff. Eat something. Look at you. Blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And as now know, it turned out that Chadwick Boseman actually had been dealing with cancer this entire time, and that his weight loss had nothing to do with anything else. And so I'm thinking, if you're the guy who was saying, "Oh, look at this dude, man, eat something," how are you going to think about yourself when you realize that this is a guy who had cancer and did some amazing moves that you enjoyed, and you are there saying some nasty things about him, while the guy was trying to be as positive as he was about his life. And I think people need to stop and think about that. Every time that you say something about somebody, Do you understand what they're going through? Do you know what's happening on their side of town? Do you know what's happening in their lives? But also for people now, when people on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and people say some really bad things about you, if you let that get to you, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. I think you need to be able to be strong in who you are, and just tone down on how much you depend on people's opinions, because people will bury you. People will literally bury you.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it was crazy. I saw that day when Chadwick passed. The next day there was a lot of tributes, but there was people apologizing for what they said.
Yeah.
You know, because there was a
Why?
lot of people who talked.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, why now? You know,
Yeah.
Right.
you should just, you know, deal with it because you put yourself in that situation, right?
100%.
But yeah, Patricia, go on.
Yeah, so I honestly, Chadwick, I think the Chadwick example is we're privileged that he was a public figure, so we get to see the other side of it. But this makes me think, like, how many people have lost their children because of this? You know? And for me, it really, really rubs me the wrong way when people do that, because I'm just like, especially for, I think girls, we have ways of we let our emotions out. We just wear them on our sleeve, period.
Yeah.
Men, on the other end, life has not dealt them the same cards, especially Black men.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what, we have to be strong. There's no other thing we can do, you know?
There's no other option.
No, it's not an option. I have to be strong. I cannot cry. I cannot complain. I have to be the winner. That's it.
You might and deal with it, right?
Oh yeah, but I can't imagine how many people's, you know, kids have to. I mean, even here in, you know, in Massachusetts, there's a lot of kids that have lost their lives to suicide just this year because of one person says this, or or they didn't get into the school they wanted to get to because everyone got into it, or they don't have the same card someone else. I mean, this air of comparing and setting love.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Instagram, but there's something about Instagram that is also moving its own revolution, you know? A lot of people will inbox me on my Instagram profile and they're like, wow, you're eating life. They always say that. What do you like? And in my mind, I'm always saying, and I always tell people with relationships and friendships, I always say, people will fall in love with the idea of you much quicker than the person that you are.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, you're joking. I'm like, let me tell you, ask my brother. I am not the easiest person to deal with. So if you see it from Instagram, oh, you're going to think I'm the most perfect person.
Oh my God.
Meet me in person. You'll be like, what?
Oh
and I'm
God.
like, the idea of me is very different from who I am. And I know in the first series, we interviewed Mike Wazira, he's a Ugandan but American-based Major League Soccer player. And he was saying that the one thing that he is grateful for and hopes people would learn is you need to differentiate the idea of you from who you really are as a person.
Yeah.
Because if you grow into this thing of, because I have all these followers on Instagram, this is who I am, when those followers disappear, you really
when they
have
turn
to,
on you.
or when they turn on you, you are going to see yourself in the mirror. And so he was saying every morning that you wake up and see yourself in the mirror, that is who you are, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, Francis.
Patricia, yeah, when I was in college, we watched this. It wasn't a documentary. It was like a series thing. It was called Black Mirror, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's like a short series that examines the anticipated like consequences of, you know, these new technologies. So the social medias, the whatever's, right? So it's these people living in a futuristic like community where, you know, you get like, they determine how good you are to people, the likes you get on social media to get like credits, you know, in forms of money and stuff like that. So it goes back to, you know, what we're living in right now, that people live for likes, you know, the hard things on Instagram. Yeah, they want to show their lives, which is good. You know, you can show your personal life, you know, like that whole vlogging thing where you're like in the a day in the life of, let's say, me or you. And, you know, it's not always going to be taken, you know, well, or, you know, the way you want it to be taken, because at the end of the day, it's a form of art. So people can interpret it the way they want, right? So you see people, artists who like make pieces. Yeah, he might intend to like depict like, you know, someone who's hopeful or whatever, and then someone else will come and look at it and say, yeah, I don't see that. You know, and you're like, you know, because there's a lot of different mindsets out there, you know, but you should definitely check out that Black Mirror series. It's crazy. It like explains why society is the way it is right now, you know. And yeah, I was in school, I didn't want to watch it, but as I got more into it, I was like, oh, okay, so this is how so and so behaves, and this is why they like this is why they get emotional about things, you know. But yeah, I feel like we just need not a break, but just step back from technology, because it's doing a job on us, especially the young kids, us, you know, because it's us who are like embedded in it, you know. Like, I know me, I have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like everything, you know. So I definitely see what people say if I post something, you know, and it's not, I don't really care, because I just put it out there so that, you know, because I live here, I can have some of my friends see that, you know, maybe I've grown or maybe where I'm at, you know. So for me, it's something as simple as that is why I use social media, or to like market something for Engage, or, you know, a friend's business or whatever. But, you know, other people just go on there to like, you know, push people down, which is sad, but hopefully we can change.
Yeah. So I want to pivot a little bit. So we've talked about Ben, we've talked about Rachel, we've heard all about you. There's some people that we're not talking about. So I want to pivot towards being parents. Walk me through the journey of becoming parents. Where did something click, change, grow? Have you grown as people once you became parents? I just want to hear it all.
Start.
Yeah, I mean, where do you start? I think one of the most important things that can happen to you as an individual is the sort of parents that you have, because they literally form who you are as an individual. And you don't realize that until you have your own kids, that you actually then realize that you went through and why the parents that you had formed who you are and created you. And that can be for both good and for bad. Now, of course, for our generation, for us guys, we grew up in a time when we didn't have one parent, we didn't have two parents, you had maybe 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 parents. I mean, your dad, just seeing him on the call for me is just so emotional. Uncle Muumba, seeing you is just, I have to hold back the tears, because it takes me back to Kabalagala in 1990. Victoria Avenue in from 95, 94, when we moved to Bugolobi with you guys. And I'll never forget. And these are the things that I'm sorry, I'm getting really, really emotional about this, because it's a big deal.
I told people we're gonna cry. I knew we were gonna cry. It's gonna happen.
So here's the thing, because I remember growing up, you guys know my dad and how he was, and how, you know, the tough guy he was, and everything was absolute nonsense, you know, tough guy, that. And as a child, that can be daunting and totally make life difficult. But then on the other hand, we had your dad, and I remember, you guys remember Mr. Kato. And what the balance that they brought in then on the other side was it's like good cop, right? And so Uncle Bob will find you in the parking lot. I remember at the time we were what, 14, 13, 14. But he will talk to you as if you're an adult. He will have an actual adult conversation with you. And you go to sleep in the boys' quarter, you know, and you go back and think,
he spoke to me as I'm an adult, and you feel really good about yourself. And I think one of the things that did for us was that it made it difficult to do really stupid things, because suddenly you felt you've been given this responsibility. And I think even for now, then becoming a parent, you suddenly start thinking, what do I want to do with my kids to make sure that when they grow up, they feel like they've been given every opportunity to be a better person and a better individual. And I think that the way our parents molded us, even some of the things that we didn't see then go on to form us now. And I feel sorry for the kids that are being born these days, because they usually have access to just one set of parents. And even those are not really being there because they're too busy doing stuff and all of that. And I think, that becomes an issue. So that journey to parenthood really change who you are, your priorities change, your focus changes, you see life in a completely different way.
Yeah. I think for me, maybe just share how I feel about parenting. I think one of the things that scares me is, are we doing enough? Are we doing it right? And so obviously, because of the different parenting styles from the different homes that we've grown up in, we have different things that we want to see in our children. And so there are opportunities for us to clash, because no, you should be spanking him now, or I think that I should be spanking him now. And so that back and forth sort of needs to happen even as a couple, until you come to a point where you're like, okay, this is our style of parenting, or this is how we are going to raise our children. These are the values that we are going to instill. I always tell them that he's the teacher in our relationship. The stuff that Micah knows, Ben is the one who has taught him. He taught him how to say thank you. He taught him how to say please. He taught him how to say sorry. We're currently teaching him how to speak some Munyankole, because, well, I grew up in the city.
Yeah. Rachel, you've killed us.
I know. I grew up in the city.
It's the one-eyed and the blind. That is what's going on here.
Yes, exactly. So
in this case, it's more like blind and blind.
Yeah. Now for the positive things from our upbringing and what we want to bring to the table. So there are things that Ben brings to the table. There are things that I bring to the table. Just sort of making sure that those are aligned, so that our parenting is, both impactful. Micah and Jeremiah turn out okay, that they can still look to us for advice. So there are things we don't want to see in them. There are things that we grew up seeing that we don't want to see in our children. And so just making sure that we align is very, very important. Yeah.
I mean, I will tell you, okay, so Ben probably knows this. I have like very minimal, for right now, my maternal instincts are very like, you know? But like, interestingly enough, I've been, like I want to say like mentors, because in every journey, there's people you look up to. And I've been paying more attention to when people that I've looked up to, Ben, you taught me how to ride a bike. You were there when we were walking. When I started jumping over, you remember our red flower that we used to jump over in Bugolobi? That was a milestone. If you could high jump that flower, you had made it to an adult. Now you could go with the big boys. But when you look back and see this red flower, it was a death trap ready to happen. You could break your femur, you could break your tibia as we were jumping, because we thought it was the best thing in the world. But I will tell you, like, when I remember, like, even when Ben, like, when you got married to Rachel, and then when having kids that became parents, you start to, my big sister Elizabeth, who also has 2 girls, it's seeing you guys become parents and us coming up behind you guys and realizing that we're gonna be okay. There was a spot right there where we were very nervous. We're like, are we gonna be okay? Are we sure we want to be parents? Like, we used to jump down from the boogie. You remember the boogie? For those who don't know what the boogie is, let me tell you. It was a 14-foot container. Was it 14 or 16-foot container? That was it was in the estate, in the middle.
In the compound,
we knew how to climb up. And we knew to climb down, but we thought it was smart to jump from the top to the bottom. So when I tell you that each and every one of us, from the Baseta household, to the Kateo household, to the Muumba household, to the Musime household, we all jumped from the rates of passage in Bugolo were real, let me tell you. But those are all things where we were like, who would trust a child? Like, who would?
Patricia, remember the monkeys when they used to come by?
Oh, yeah, all the monkeys.
For us, it was
Crazy childhood.
entertainment, you know?
Let me
Why
tell you,
someone do that?
Bugolobi estates, that we need a keeping up with the Bugolobi families. We need a TV show about that. Because we had the dopest growing up lifestyle ever known to man. That's all I can tell you. But there are times when I really question and I was like, I would not be a parent. I mean, if my child jumped over that red flower and I was the one driving to the hospital, what explanation would I give that the kid jumped over a red flower? Like, there was no, there were moments where I was like, we're not going to be okay. But seeing you and Liz and Rach, like, seeing you guys be, and I'm not even kidding you when I say this, you're really doing more than okay as parents. Like, way more than okay. Because I will say, like, I love seeing videos of Micah, like, either he's like doing something amazing or he finally learned how to draw, or something. Like, he always has his little milestones. And I'll tell you, like my sister Elizabeth's daughter, because she has an older sister, she started walking too early. And we were all so nervous because we were like, it's gonna be a problem. Like, you should not be walking at 7.5, 8 months. Like, you should wait a little bit. And we were all worried. Oh my God, she's done this. Like, what if she skipped crawling and that's a problem? Like, what if it affects her in school? Like, we started coming up with all these what ifs, because they're so harsh on yourselves. But I will tell you, you're doing more than okay, 101%. And I honestly, like, I have faith, like, if and when I have kids, I will be okay. And I'm booking all of you.
Yes,
you are the extra set of the 16, 17 parents, okay? I'm booking them on my list of parents. I'm sending my kids to Uganda, get ready. Micah is gonna have people to mentor. Jeremiah is gonna have people to mentor. It's gonna be a real deal over here. Francis, by the way, off topic but relevant. Have you noticed that Francis talks just like you guys in media? Do you know why?
Why?
Because he's in media. He went to school for communications and media relations.
Oh, nice.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Nice.
forgot to introduce myself and say all that.
So it looks like the media industry is infectious down to a whole other generation now.
Yeah.
So when you're looking for someone to do voiceovers, Francis Muumba is out there looking for places.
Yeah, but
so Francis, you go on. You have that one.
Yeah, let's yeah, we're still in the same topic of family. I just want to know, because I know faith is really important to both of you. I just want to know, what role has it played in your family thus far?
Short answer, everything. I think without faith, how do you live? I honestly can't. Every time I stand and try and imagine a life where I don't have faith, or we don't have faith, I don't see how that life is possible. I even become speechless trying to comprehend a life where you can't have that confidence of knowing that God has your back and that He's going to take care of you no matter what happens. And thing that I keep telling people, regardless of the circumstances, what you're dealing with, there's going to be situations that overwhelm you, things that you can't handle. I think that sometimes mine, I think maybe becomes a bit too extreme. Sometimes it becomes even uncomfortable for my wife. But I honestly believe that nothing is impossible with God, and that you've got to put yourself in a position where you, number one, understand that, number two, believe that,
And number 3, expect that God will be, do something about that. And so for me, I think faith is at the very core and heart of our being, and without it, I don't know how you have a of any sort whatsoever.
Yeah. So we've been through some stuff that we've not had any other choice but faith, I guess. I'll just give an example. 2020, I was laid off from my job in May, and like Ben mentioned, he has not been formally employed since last year. And we found ourselves in a very difficult place. You know, you still have bills to pay, children to take care of, rent to pay, and yet here we are, and we both don't have formal employment. And so every time we find ourselves in situations like that, take time, mourn, and be disappointed, and then sort of quickly snap out of it and say, the life chosen is that we are going to trust God. I mean, we don't have any other choice. Short of that, you either run mad, or you get depressed, or you're overwhelmed with sadness or worse. And so for us, faith has been pretty much the only option. The only option.
It's everything.
Yeah.
That's really great, because when I was preparing for this, I went on Ben's LinkedIn, right, just to read everything he had done, from like me. I just knew, he worked in broadcasting, but I didn't really know because he worked in a lot of places. So I went and read everything. I'm like, wow, this guy's really done a lot in the same field, with everything. So I saw that you worked at a couple of radio stations, and you kind of brought that idea of faith, and the whole I think it was gospel aspect to radio stations. And it wasn't a thing then, I guess, on the radio, but you helped introduce that whole side of things, which I thought was really incredible, because I feel like you were still putting your foot, you're getting your feet wet, if that's what the saying is. I hope I'm getting it right, but I thought it was pretty incredible what you were able to do with that. But what I just wanted to quickly, before we finish this family aspect, what does family mean to you? I feel like a lot of people don't get asked that a lot. What does it what does it mean to both of you? Is it everything? Is it does it affect all parts of your life, or what you do in your daily life and stuff like that? We would really want to know.
So just to backtrack to what I said on the sort of family that I grew up in. We grew up in a very close-knit family. I still have both my parents, thank God. And, just like a nice, very protected, safe environment, with my dad being a pastor, he's retired now. And my mom, who stayed at home to look after for the better part of, our lives. And for me, I really, really value family. I do. And I think also growing up as a child, one of the things that I longed for was to have a family of my own. And God has been really gracious and granted me a family of my own. So when I think about family, everything else is secondary, to be honest. I will very gladly give up a trip, to travel with the girls, or to travel, I don't know where, if it means that I'm going to spend more time with my husband and my children. Or I'm okay with canceled plans if it means more time at home or more time with my family. So I value family. I value the input that it has on my life. I value the stability that it gives me. Just knowing that there are people that I go back to every day, and there are people that I can find comfort with, depending on what season I am in my life. I am a home girl. I am a family woman, so to speak.
Wow, that's really great to hear.
I think family has got to be everything. And the easiest way to know that is to look at people who have not had the privilege of being in families where family is everything. And I think you'll quickly realize what a stark difference there is between like the two sorts of people like that. I think for Rachel, for myself, and for you guys, we have a really good understanding of growing up what you'd say is a good family, where family is actually key. And again, I have to keep making reference to Daddy being on the with us. And I remember how I think maybe out of 365 days, unless there was on a work trip or anything, your dad was home at 5, right? Yeah. Could have been in the bar.
Without fail.
I mean, almost like on the dot. I think you remember that Suzuki Vitara. You just knew, oh, Muumba is home. Right?
But then you can remember. Jesus.
Yeah. And I think that it's only when you now like it's only become a parent you realize how that is. Because I could stay out as late as possible, go watch football in a bar, or go hang with some guys or do whatever. A lot of people do that, especially here in Kampala. People go back home at 9:30 and or stay in the office because they're busy doing stuff and they'll go home at 11. I've had fights with my friends who I think push themselves a bit too hard at the risk of not knowing who their kids are, where their kids are. Yeah. We didn't have that misfortune. We had parents that would be home at 5, right? And so granted, when they would get home, we'd run away from the living room because we'd been watching TV and there,
You're running from the TV. Remember the time when they need to figure out which house has all the children? Because you're at someone's house.
Exactly.
You're like, there are 5 houses and one of them has our children.
and knowing that we are there. And again, I've got to say I think that for me, it becomes very personal. So a lot of people who might be watching this will not understand the sort of environment we grew up in, because for context, we were living in an estate, first in Kabalagala, in Kampala, where you had 4 houses, then 5 houses inside one fence. So they had no fence between the houses. And so literally, you would run into your kitchen. I remember I would run into the kitchen literally all the time. Yeah. And one of the most emotional things for me today has been seeing that picture behind Francis, because that used to hang in the living room in Bokolobi. And just the nostalgia of just seeing that picture now. I can see that living room in house number 3, and I'm thinking, oh, wow. And so, yeah, absolutely. So being able to have that environment where you had parents who you knew at 5 p.m. they're going to be home, and yet they're going to give you the liberty to be who you are. They'll be tough when they need to, but they are gentle more than anything else. They're supportive in every way. I don't think you can replicate that. I feel sorry for a lot of people, especially in the Western world, like you guys, when you're in the US and the way family is structured and the way that it makes it a lot more difficult than it was for us guys. And I really pity the kids who are being born now, because things have gotten a lot tougher for them. But yeah, I think you've got to, and I think I saw Pauline asking how you balance work and family somewhere in one of the questions. And this might be a good opportunity to point out that no matter what it is that you do, it never be worth it is going to jeopardize your ability to spend enough time with your family. Rachel and I had a meeting with one of the ministers here in Uganda recently. We were working on a project and we went to meet this guy early in the morning, and his meetings are at 7, 6 in the morning, which means basically he's been in town from like 5:30 or whatever. And I remember we had a very long discussion with him about family and how he mentioned, I think he hadn't seen his kids in like 2 weeks. And yet this is like a 3 and a 5-year-old, he has young kids. They live in the same house. They say, they stay with him. And he's like, I've not seen my kids for 2 weeks. Like, I'm busy, I've been running all over. So I told that guy, when the kids grow up, I don't give a flying monkey that you're a minister. The only thing they're going to be thinking is, well, you my dad. You might even get fired as a minister, right? And then these kids are going to be thinking, so what was that all about? And I remember encouraging this guy and telling him, you know what, you're in a position where you're privileged enough able to make a decent amount of money. Take some time off. Take your kids on a holiday, right? Take them to a national park or something and actually spend some time with your kids. And so I think that's why it's really important for people to understand that it doesn't matter how much money you make or what you do. If you're not able to have a family that values the moments that you created, and again, that's the other thing, I think family is mostly about the memories that you create, right? If you look at all that we've talked about today so far, all the memories that really matter were never about how much money who had or whatever. It was about jumping off of a container, football, you know, and that's what it's really supposed to be all about. And we need to be able to create that for the next generation, for that sort of sense of happy as they grow up.
Can I just tell you one thing? I just had the most distinct Bugolovi memory, and all of you are going to die laughing because this was the biggest memory. Rachel, you will know what this is. Have you ever wondered why Benson and Bennett have the scar across their faces? So I'll tell you the backstory. You know how Benson and Bennett have that? They have that X on their face. He doesn't have it, but Benson and Bennett have it.
You need to put context, yeah. So Benson and Bennett, my little brothers, yeah. So yeah, they've got two huge scars, on their foreheads.
So we were being crazy as always, and running around, and they were running around a corner, a blind corner, so they both didn't see each other until they were head first. That was. We will never forget that day because their heads split open immediately. Like it was worse than a car crash. That was like the hardest hit you could ever imagine. But to today, every time I see a scar in someone's face, I'm like, oh, Benson and Bennett.
So I should add some context to that. I'm just going to say that I remember when that happened. I think I was in the kitchen with my mom, and so we had this thud. And at first we thought that someone had crashed a car into the wall or something because it was that loud. And then next thing you know, Bennett comes in and his ear is covered in blood. And I remember when we went to the hospital clinic in Middle East in Bugolobi, everyone was just shocked and crying, weeping, asking themselves which person would be so evil to try and anger. What? Like who would want to have two innocent children, right?
Yet they did it to
themselves. To try to explain to them that this was self-inflicted.
They were the reason that they're bleeding.
But you said that's the whole point about life being about the memories that you create. And my prayer is that for anybody watching this at whatever stage of your life you are, especially for the younger people, to try and focus all of your energies on creating memories, trying to make money or just something, because that's what it all comes back down to. And when push comes to shove, it's going to come back down to what memories did you create.
No, 100%. And as you said, us who, we're definitely privileged to live in the US, and we love every day of our lives here, and we couldn't take that back because the person who paved the way for this went through a lot to make this happen. Hey, Mom. But I will say, she always says this every single time, and she tells parents all the time that the way you treat your kids when they're younger is the way they're going to treat you when they can be their own people. And she's like, if you do not remind them every day that they're the center of your world and that you would sacrifice almost anything for them, when they have to make a choice, they're not going to put you first if you did not put them first. And she always tells parents, you cannot blame them because you did not put effort. You should not expect effort in return. And when you talk about just memories and how a lot of times we focus so much on money that we forget that the people you bring into this world who didn't choose to be here, honestly, you made for them to be here. The least you could do for them is to make this life as amazing as you can be, because as we all know, growing up is so hard that if you don't have somebody stewarding that ship that really understands and is trying to make the path for you as clear, but also as loving, and it might not be comfortable, but as loving and as filled with so much care as possible,
Yeah.
you could live to regret it, because we talk about, like, I'll tell you a story about my dad that I'll never forget, and Francis knows this. It's a huge moment for me. So everyone knows I'm a daddy's girl. Love my mom beyond, like we're literally the same person. But I am a daddy's girl to a certain extent. And I remember, so there is a period in my life, or in Francis and I's lives, where my mom and my dad did not live in the same country at the same time. And so there has to be a lot of my mom parenting on the phone and my dad kind of parenting by himself in the house. And it made me have a greater respect for fathers in children's lives. We're very quick to say the mom did everything. And yes, there are times where the mom does a lot, but it's really important for that balance when the dad is in the house. So both Francis and I, we studied at Green Hill, and I remember it was a week where my dad used to fly to Nairobi a lot. Ben, you remember our dads were in Nairobi like every other week, practically. And he had to go to Nairobi on a Thursday and had to be back on a Saturday. And on that Friday, my brother, I was in P7, which is the highest level for primary school in Uganda, and Francis was in P6. And that Friday, that week, Francis had just been voted as the first sportsman of the year in the school that wasn't in P7. So he was in P6, and it had never happened in history. And so they call my dad and they're telling him, like, your son is going to be given this award. And my dad's like, I'm flying to Nairobi in the next 3 hours. Like, what are you talking about? But I promise you, first of all, this is a time where, my friend, Kenya Airways was not cheap. You couldn't just wake up in the morning and say, now I'm staying. But I promise you, my dad flew Thursday morning. He went to his conference Thursday. Friday, wrapped it up, and flew back to Uganda in time to be at Green Hill on Friday evening for Francis Sportsman of the Year award. And let me tell you, this school is in Chimuli. Okay, you're driving from Entebbe. There wasn't expressway those days. We had the real Entebbe road, original. But he was there, like he made it. And in my mind, parents are not perfect, and they all have their ups and downs. But there's a level of respect I'm always gonna have for my dad for that, no matter what, because he didn't have to. There's nowhere in a book that was written that you have to do it because you're a parent. But he knew how important it was for Francis. And Francis, you can talk about this a little bit, but you've played soccer your whole life. You're now coaching soccer. Like, it's all these little moments that have made you who you are today. And you can talk about it a little bit, but I would say, if we're talking about family and what it means, it's those pivotal moments.
Yeah. With us, both, dad and mom have been pretty immense for us. Of course, dad being, that period where mom was not around, like he was really in our lives. Like Ben said, he would always be back around the same time at home, and, would have so much time with him, talk to him, have fun with him, do fun things. And he was there for us, those Sportsman of the Year awards. He was there for sports days, if that's what they still call them. He was there for, when we were in secondary, he was there for the VDs, my favorite thing about secondary school. Hey, he was there, and like Patricia said, I feel like there's especially in the US, there's a not misconception, but Black fathers are really, they don't have a good rep. Like, it's just the way it is, there's that stereotype of absentee father, fathers abandon their kids, they're not in their kids' lives, they're not good husbands, which some of them are not, but somehow we all get swept under that, and it really hurts, but we just have to do better. And at the end of the day, it comes down to, like Ben said, the family you come from. You know, we came from a family that where your mom and dad were, you know, together most of your lives or the whole of your lives. Then of course you'll also follow suit. You know, hopefully, you know. But yeah, it was. And if I go to my mom, like we could talk for days because she's done a lot for both my sister, myself, our siblings. We literally can't thank her. There's nothing we can give her that can say thank you enough,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I will.
We can just when we
Let the record state that your mom and I and my big brother Kenneth share a birthday. So
Yes.
yeah,
yes, yes, yeah, September babies. She turned 60 this year, but she doesn't look 60. She looks at least 40. 40. Yeah.
At the most.
Yeah.
I'm not even
At
kidding
most.
you.
Probably 35. Could pass for 35, you know? But it's she's yeah, I know most of my colleagues, friends, when they see my mom, they can't
She's right
believe she's
there.
oh, there
60.
she
You know?
is. There she is.
She's there. Oh yeah. There, I know too. Who you? Huh?
I mean, but
Yeah.
I will, I want to say for sure that, as you say, like when we say like our generation, we grew up with so many parents. Ben, your Mama Benon is everything to us, There is no question about it.
Super ninja. Yeah.
Super ninja,
Mama Ben and comments on all my things on Facebook. I was even
I
surprised.
know, right? This book, oh, did I say anything scary that I should be worried about? But yeah.
she honestly, like, there is that strength that comes with African families, and that we all, honestly, the Bugolobi household, we are all still together today, and we would never walk by each other in the street without saying, hey, what's going on in your life?
Absolutely.
Because of that web that was grown in us. And when we talk about just family, for us, family was beyond your mom, your dad, this is my sibling, that's my sibling. All the Bens are our siblings. Like, we're a whole big, large family. We're the Brady Bunch. That's what they call us in the US. That is us. But anyway, we have
I think, I was just going to say, Patricia, that I think for me, every time we do an event like this and we all of these things, there's one key thing that you sort of take away with you. That's like the key takeaway. And I think for me, from today, that's the big thing. Success and greatness literally hinge on family and the quality of family and how you interact with family. I think that is the one thing that everyone needs to take note of and remember, especially for people who are thinking about starting families, to understand that there is nothing that's more important than that. Absolutely nothing more important than that.
No, 100%. And, we have a few minutes left, but the one thing that I wanted to ask both of you, just a moment of reflection to really bring everything together. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, wow.
That is a scary question.
I know.
And one that I think about every time somebody passes. Chadwick's death, of course, being the Morris one. I feel like, I keep telling people that his death was really painful. I didn't even know him. I didn't know him personally. And it's not like I even followed his work, but he had such a presence about him that, how you feel someone and you feel their goodness, that he's a good guy. He had positive vibes all over him. And I feel like I want that. I want people to remember me for being kind to them, for being somebody that could relate with their pain or could relate with their struggle. Or when I spoke to her, when she smiled at me, everything was better or everything. So I want to exude that presence. I want people to be inspired or for their lives to be impacted in whichever way, whether it's my motherhood journey or the struggles that I'm facing. And for me to be able to share those, for someone else to say, oh my gosh, you touched me when you shared that. Thank you for being vulnerable. For me, that's the stuff that matters, that at the end of the day, like he was saying, when you look at the mirror, that is who you are. The stuff that's inside your heart, the stuff that you are struggling with, the stuff that you maybe don't even want to share with anyone, But for me to be able to share that struggle and for somebody else to DM me and say, oh my gosh, I've struggled with the same and I was looking for somebody to talk to. That's how I want to be remembered. Yeah.
I think for me, really, it's about having sort of impact that our parents had on us. I mean, the stuff that you guys are talking about, mommy and daddy now, and the fact that they're with us and can hear this stuff. I mean, being there for you. I remember your mom and Sunday mass. It was like unquestionable. That's like non-negotiable. It's gonna happen. And being able to say those sorts of good things about your parents, and the fact that they valued family and that they were there, I think that matters more than anything else. I think for people to be able to know that that was crucial and that you did everything in your power to make not only your life better, but every child that you interacted with, that you left a mark on their lives, that you can say that person inspired me to become a better person. How they treated their wife. I don't think you can ask for anything more than that.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the fun part that everyone doesn't like to get to at the end of the interview, because then they have to think about it. So between you two, one has to choose success and the other has to choose greatness, and give us a quick definition. Now, what does whichever word you choose mean to you today?
I choose both. I choose both.
Yeah.
Rachel, you have a real job. Now he wants both. Serious.
I know.
We're supposed to be one, so
Okay.
So
Okay. You're choosing which one?
I don't know. Can you have one or the other?
You can use. Okay, let's just do both versus each other.
I'll take greatness. I think that if you're going to be great, you're going to have been successful in one way or another anyway. And I think the greatness is really about, like you just said, what your legacy is, what your impact was on the world, how many lives you made better. And if you've been able to do that, and by default, you've been successful as well. So definitely greatness.
Yeah, I'll say that greatness is the next step after success, hopefully. I mean, you can be successful and not great, which wouldn't be desirable. I think that when we talk about, or possibly getting a lot of money and really expensive cars,
Bentley.
Yes, we are constantly reminding ourselves. We're constantly reminding ourselves that may we never forget, one, where we have come from, the people that have helped us along the way. May we not lose our humanity because we have success or because we have made some extra money. And so I think for me, greatness then becomes the thing that you aspire to over everything else. So I want to be great, and yes, you have to have been successful, because no one will listen to you if you're not successful. It's just the way the world works. So yeah, greatness over success for her.
Yeah.
I can have both.
Oh my, thank you. I mean, both of you, I asked you to do this months ago before I even released the first Success versus Greatness, but I knew. I was like, the Muines have to be on it. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to make it happen. And you know what? I'm just so grateful because, as I said, and Rachel knows this on Instagram, I said, this is going to be a lot of laughter and a lot of tears too, and that's totally fine. But where I am right now, I get asked a lot of times, like yesterday, I had to make a video about like, how did you get to where you are? And I'm like, where am I exactly? Because I'm like, I haven't made it. Why are you making it look like I have? I have not. But on the journey, I was saying, I kept telling people, like, on the journey that I'm on, honestly, I'm just like, all the people ahead of me, Ben and Elizabeth, wherever you are, thank you very much for setting the bar so high. The rest of us have to keep crawling till we get up there. When are we ever going to beat that bar? When? Not in this lifetime. But I knew I needed to bring somebody who could give a full picture of like, this is how we became us, Friends and I, and how this engaged thing came. So I'm gonna have all of you stick around for a little bit because the people on the call can ask questions, say hi. But I'm gonna let the people on Facebook go. Thank you to everyone on Facebook for hanging out with us, for meeting the Muines, who we wanted you guys to meet. Shout out to my brother for co-hosting this with me. You're the best always. And in the next 15 or so minutes, we'll be announcing the next speaker when this goes live on YouTube. But yeah, cheers to the people on Facebook, and we will see you next week, November 14th.